How would you say Skyler Thompson is a different quarterback today than when you saw him at the end of last season right now?
Well, I think probably the biggest thing is just comfort and his understanding of kind of who we are and how we play and how we practice, and not just the offense, but just how we go about our business. And I think that's one of the biggest things, not just from an offensive standpoint, but from an entire team standpoint, is just understanding of what it means to go to work each day, from the practice standpoint, if it's down in the weight room, if it's in the meeting room, learning what we are and who we are offensively. I think he's just really, really grown in that aspect of understanding how we as a program want to go about our business.
And he'll be, he won't have Dalton this year to throw to. He'll be looking at some new guys. Who's kind of caught your eye so far at receiver in camp?
Well, I think the one guy that really finished up strong last year in our season was Sebastian Taylor, and I think he's continued to grow. I think he's a young man that's worked hard in the off season, and unfortunately an extended off season to continue to grow and get stronger and just become a better wideout. Obviously the Maliks and the Josh Youngbloods and those guys are names that people know, but Sebastian Taylor's maybe a little bit of one that you wouldn't know as much. Landry Weber's done a nice job this so far. Seth Porter's a guy that probably no one would even think of, has really done a nice job. You still have the Phillip Brookses that he's really got the quick twitch. He looks in great shape right now. Joaquin Gill has done a nice job. So we feel good about that position. There's just no one has yet proven that they can be what Dalton was. And they're all really looking for an opportunity to get out there and show who they are.
Scott Fritchin.
Hey, Courtney. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good. Josh Youngblood, talking to him a couple times during the summer, very driven, very goal-oriented. Yesterday he said that he would like to have 1,000 yards receiving, and this is coming from a guy who had 9 receptions all of last season. But how have you seen Josh maybe emerge, and how can he become more involved in the passing offense in 2020?
Well, I think the biggest thing for him is just what you've said is he's very driven. When he was in Tampa, he had opportunity to get together with other receivers that were in that area, some of which being college guys, some of which being NFL guys, and trying to learn and be a sponge on the craft of being a wide receiver. A little bit different than maybe some people realize. Josh didn't grow up as a 9th grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, senior being a wide receiver. He was a somewhat of a jack of all trades, and he's just continued to try to learn the game from the receiver standpoint and continue to build on his craft and learn his craft and quote, master his craft. And he is very focused, very driven, wants to be successful. And we've got to keep putting him in positions where he can be successful.
It seems like you're stacked at tight end all of a sudden with Riley Moore coming in, and you have a first-team All-Big 12, Nick Lenners. How deep is that tight end position, and how can those two guys complement each other in the offense?
Well, that's one of the things we have a desire to get to, and that is to have multiple tight end / fullback guys that create issues for people, guys that are big enough, strong enough, understand the run game well enough to set the point and be a legitimate blocker, but guys that can become matchup issues in the passing game. I think Briley brings some of that to the table. I think Nick did a nice job last year. I think, Mason Barta and Jack Stanine are two guys that can help us do some of the legit fullback work. And then, Jax has got enough quick twitch and an athletic ability to possibly get out on the edge and catch a ball once in a while. And then Nick and Briley and really Sammy Wheeler, those three have to be passing game threats as well as the ability to still block.
Derek Young.
Yeah, how has the abbreviated off season kind of impacted your ability to kind of rebuild the entire offensive line?
Yeah, that's been obviously a concern all the time, because spring ball was going to be so important for us to really identify the guys that not only mentally can handle it and do it, but physically can get out there and be in the trenches and get tired and still get their job done. One of the hardest things we'll have to work on the most in this camp is, okay, it's play 6, 7, play 8. I'm starting to get tired. Well, the style of football we want to play and the offense that we play, we want to have 12, 13, 14, 15 play drives. And, we want defensive linemen to get tired. The problem with that is when it's 14 or 15 play drives as an O-lineman, you're not having somebody sub in for you. So you've got to still not only execute physically, but you got to be able to communicate, and mentally you've got to be strong. And that's one of the things we'll have to really work at as camp continues, is getting some 12 play drives and getting our left guard and our left tackle to be able to communicate with the center and all be on the same page. We were very spoiled last year because we had 5 seniors basically, and then put Josh Rivas in there that had all played a bunch of football together. So their ability to communicate and talk and work as a unit was really, really good. And that's where we need to get to that point with this offensive line group.
And how would you, I guess, characterize the quarterback battle behind Skyler Thompson? Because I know you guys are pretty excited about Will Howard, the true freshman, as well.
Yeah, and even in just the short amount of time we've been going, I really feel good about 3 guys fighting for that backup spot. Will Howard obviously has come in and done pretty much exactly what we anticipated he would. Having him be here in the spring hurt that we didn't have spring ball, but was extremely good for him that he got to know the people. He got to know our players. He got to know our coaches. He got to understand a little bit about our culture, and that's helped him. Jaron Lewis now being a second year here, he has really, really started to show some of the things that we anticipated he would bring to the table when he got here. And then Nick has really done a good job of just continuing to learn, understands that Skyler is the quote guy, but has attacked it as though he's truly one play away from needing to be that guy that can be a player for us, that can not just handle the offense, but can make plays. And that's what we really want, is we want 3 guys having a great competition to be that backup. All of us understanding that Skyler is the guy that's going to be the driver right now.
John Kurtz.
Yeah, hey, Courtney. I wanted to ask about Malik Knowles. Just looking at the roster, it would appear that he's bulked up from last year and obviously had his trouble staying healthy. How much do you think that will help him, and how key is that to what you guys do offensively this year?
Well, I think the strength aspect, the ability for him with his length and his ability to really open up and run, the stronger he can be, the better it's going to be for him as a wide receiver. Just being able to say, okay, press cover me. Yeah, I can body you up a little bit. I can use my size to hold the edge when I'm running a vertical route and then go make a play. If he can stay healthy, and I think that extra weight and the strength that he's putting on, and weight and strength, is going to help him stay healthy. And we feel like the sky's the limit. But until you get out there and actually perform it and do it and stay healthy, it's still a work in progress. It's still that old thing that you'd say, well, he's got a lot of potential to be a big time playmaker for us, and he really does. And we anticipate that he will make those plays, and we really think this extra strength and weight will help him.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Kellis.
Yeah, Courtney, just how big of an addition is Briley Moore to this offense? We all saw what he did at Northern Iowa. What could make him a game changer here?
Well, I'm a little bit using it off of just the things I saw him do, and obviously it was at another school. But the thing that I think he's going to bring to the table isn't just his physical skills. He's really been a very good leader. He's learned our offense without being able to get on the field and actually execute it unbelievably well. Day one's practice, he had 0 busts. Now you'd say, okay, he didn't get 1,000,000 reps. No, he still got a pretty good number of reps, had 0 busts, and really, I feel like, understands the scheme, understands the why we're doing what we're doing with him. Is he going to be a huge impact in our league? We got to let that play out and see. We obviously feel very good about him. But like was stated before, Nick's a very, very good football player. Sammy Wheeler showed signs of being able to be a threat in the passing game. So Briley doesn't need to come in and be the man. We want him to come in and be a big impact player. Anticipate him being a matchup issue for people, but we also want to let it kind of come to him and let him. There's no reason to put a whole bunch of extra expectations on him. Just let him come in and be part of who we are, and we feel like he'll be just fine.
All right, we're going to go with the last four that have their hands up here. So we'll start out with Mitchell.
Hey, Coach, I was wondering how much the lost time in the offseason and summer ball and spring ball, how much had that lost time hurt the development of this team?
It's hard to really quantify that. I think that from an offensive line standpoint, it definitely hurt our ability to know how well they're going to communicate, how well they're going to actually execute because it's so many. It's four brand new guys and obviously a guy that wasn't a starter but really could have been in Josh Rivas. That hurt. The ability to see a Josh Youngblood become more of a legit wide receiver threat, that obviously hurt. Getting Harry and Tyler Burns and those guys more touches, and then also getting a Jacardier and a Joe Irvin and some of those young guys, getting them opportunities to truly become better at their craft. It hurt all of us. It's hard to really say how much because everybody got put in the same boat, meaning all the programs in the country got put basically in the same boat. So, when we get out there on the first Saturday that we get opportunity to play, you're hoping that our guys have taken it upon themselves to make sure they're prepared mentally and physically. And that's part of our job, obviously, as coaches, is making sure that they understand who we are and the style of football we want to play, and then take it to the field and show that we're ready to play.
And one other question. So knowing how close this has all come to being taken away and the sport being canceled, does it give you guys a heightened level of appreciation for the game, knowing how close this can be to going away?
Well, I think the biggest thing with that is more our whole staff and us trying to get to our players, the understanding of worry about the things you can control. And you can control preparing to be successful when you get opportunity to get on the field. Doesn't matter if it's tomorrow that they said it's time to play or if it's September 12th that they say it's time to play. Worry about getting better each day. And when they say let's roll the ball out and go, be ready to go.
Adam Meyer.
Coach, obviously with Skyler Thompson and his wide receivers, you have good threats in the passing game, but in the running game, you have senior Harry Trotter and then the young talent of Jacardia Wright and Joe Irvin. Just how important is it going to be to establish a good running game?
Well, our entire offense is based around the ability to run the football. It's not that we want to run the ball every snap, but forcing people to stop the run is always going to be a huge key for us. So if it's Jacardier, if it's Joe, if it's Tyler Burns, if it's Harry, I'm okay with having a running back position by committee. But the bottom line is those guys, as well as the O-line and tight ends, really got to make sure that they're on the same page. And a great running back helps the O-line, and obviously a great O-line makes it really, quote, easier for a great tailback, because then you get them to space. You get them to the second level with space. But at the first level, at the line of scrimmage, that tailback can help those O-linemen if he runs his track correctly. And that's something that we have to do a great job in fall camp, is getting the tailbacks to be on the same page as the O-line. And, that's one thing that a lot of people don't think about as much as you kind of think, okay, the O-line's together. But the tailback is a huge part of how good our O-line can be.
Scott Fritchen.
Yes, speaking of offensive line, you got Josh Rivas. During the course of the summer, I've also heard good things about Nick Johnson, Del Ford, Christian Duffy, Beebe. Just what are you expecting out of these guys, and how quickly can they gel?
Well, I think that'll be a huge key as to how quickly they can gel. I said one time, I don't know, it might have been way back before even the COVID situation started, that, you know, we feel really good about the young men we have in our program. I mean, we feel like the ability to be great drive blockers, a run blocking game. We feel good about the O-line that we have. We have a number of young men that are 300 plus pounds that we feel like can move around well, but they still haven't been out there and really done it on the field, and that's a huge deal. That's why spring ball was so important for those O-linemen. Well, that's come and gone. You can't worry about that. You got to move forward, getting them to understand the system as well as you can and getting them to play together as a group of five. We feel good about them. We feel like they're dedicated, and their desire to learn our offense has been tremendous. The problem is a ton of that learning has been on Zoom meetings. So the more times they can be together, the more times they can communicate together, the better we'll be.
All right, last one here, Fitz.
Hey, Coach, good morning. Have you had to go through this situation? How thankful are you that you had a guy like Skyler Thompson in charge of your offense when it was just players working with themselves, and thankful that you're in the second year and not your first year with this program?
Well, I think it's the first part of it is, you know, Skyler has done a good job, but he's also had guys, using Harry Trotter as an example, that wanted to be part of helping teach, wanted to be part of grabbing guys and saying, hey, how do we get this done better? Skyler's been in there numerous times with the wide receivers or the tight ends on their own, teaching our offense. And that was a huge deal because it's his second year. If this was his first year and he was trying to learn the offense himself, he wouldn't have been able to do that. You know, Noah Johnson, Josh Revis, their ability to get in there as a group of 4 or 5 or 6, and those two be able to really talk our offense and talk the calls and look at a front and say, yeah, that's what we'd call an Okie front, or that's what we'd say that's 4 down. Those things were huge for us, because if it would have been a first year, we'd have never been able to get that done. And they wouldn't have been able to get it done because they wouldn't have known it well enough. You might say Noah Johnson, why would you use his as an example? Because even though he wasn't a starter, he's an extremely smart young man that has a great desire to be successful, and as a backup learned the ins and outs of our offense extremely well. So he was able to do a ton with our other O-linemen from a teaching standpoint.